Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Sideline Report on a wintry Thursday morning at WPKY Radio, and I am Todd Griffin from the Princeton Times-Leader. Glad to be here this morning, and glad the trip into town was uneventful. The road's actually just a little bit better than I thought, but if you're out there driving around, there are still some slick spots, so don't get too carried away. Take it easy, leave yourself a little more time, and just be smart on the highways. Joining us this morning on the Sideline Report is David Brown. He is the Caldwell County Youth Incorporated president and a big Murray State Racer booster, so he's feeling pretty good right now. Good morning, David.
Good morning to you, Todd. Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. And when I asked you to come in, I want to talk about the Youth Incorporated meeting, which was supposed to be last night, but unfortunately that was a victim of the weather.
Yes, well, and last night is actually worse than it is this morning, I think.
Yeah.
There's still plenty to talk about that's going on at Youth Incorporated. It's a great time for youth sports in Caldwell County and Western Kentucky in general.
Well, there are a lot of things going on, but it seems like the ballpark is in a bit of a state of flux right now. There's a lot of things going on, and a lot of things are being talked about. Not a lot of things have been finalized, though. So where do we stand on some of those things?
Well, you're exactly right. We're in lull, if you would. That one of the topics last night that was on the itinerary was improvement projects for the parks. I asked that all of the committees come up with 3 to 5 improvement projects that they wanted to see happen at the Ratliff Park complex or amongst the other sports. For instance, new goals. What type of equipment do the kids need? And it's exciting to hear and see the ideas of guys that volunteer, that just simply love the kids of Caldwell County, and to see their vision and actually have the chance to sit down with them and understand that their hearts are truly about the young people here in Caldwell County. So it's, one of the things that is obviously a topic for Youth Incorporated at this particular point in time is the Hospital Taxation Board grant that Youth Incorporated has received. Now, that for those of you that are listening this morning, the money has not been allocated. There has been a few bumps in the road, I suppose we ought to say. I hope that we have the opportunity to talk about it once things are completed. But that I think the thing that I want to make mention of, and that I know you do too, because I know it's your heart, is this money being allocated for all the youth of Caldwell County.
Right.
That's what it's about. And it's for all the sports. It's not just about the baseball and softball that goes on out at Ratliff Park.
Well, one of the issues I think we have as a county, and I've mentioned this before and to several different people, what we need is a county park board that kind of oversees all the parks, because sometimes it seems like each one of our parks kind of pulls together or competes with one another, and you don't want your community competing with itself. We want everybody to work together, and, theoretically, all the parks need to get money and be improved.
Tab Brockman, who is over in Hopkinsville, Christian County now, is one of my close friends from Murray. And he and I and Carter Hendricks and some of those guys, and I've talked to the guys in Marshall County, I've talked to the guys in Trigg County, I've talked to several different park directors regarding that very same thing. I talked to several of the political candidates because I feel like it's an important issue. I'm in total agreement. That Tab told me, he said, look, I was not going to leave Murray and go to Hopkinsville unless there was one central office and I had one boss, whether it be the judge executive or the mayor. It didn't make me any difference. I just wanted one boss. And that's one of the ways that that's one of the things that I hope a new administration here in Caldwell County and Princeton will address. I really think it's essential.
Absolutely. I think you look at some of the communities around us, and they're always improving their ballparks. And a lot has been done to the Ratliff Park complex here. As a matter of fact, Caldwell County is in that league with the other communities: Trigg County, Dawson Springs, Crittenden County, Lyon County. Those folks all like coming to our ballpark. I think people here like going to their ballparks. But, I think it's kind of fostered a little competition between the communities to make their ballparks better, and we certainly don't want to lag behind the other communities in that regard.
I agree with you 100%. I think anytime competition is applied, it's positive. But I was coming from my old roommate in college, Terry Milton's house over in Trigg County the other day, and I pulled to let my dogs run at the Trigg County Park and get a drink of water and so forth. And I noticed they had built a new indoor facility right there behind their baseball and softball park. And I thought, doggone it. Well, and of course, I was running through my head just yesterday on, who has what and where we are, if I was going to stack things up. I think as far as the field surfaces, as far as the park complexes, Dwight, Gary, Kyle, and the Youth Incorporated as a whole has done a tremendous job. But there's work still to be done. And the greatest barrier in my mind, at least, is, first of all, agreement within the community, so that there's total support aimed in one direction. Anytime there's unity, there's a single-mindedness, and there's you've seen the people of Princeton and Caldwell. There's nothing they can't do when they put their minds to it. It's just doing it together so that we can be the best people that we can possibly be, to me.
Well, speaking of the ballpark, I don't think 10 years ago I could have imagined it would have gotten to the point where it has now, because it was kind of in bad shape. I think it had been maybe even neglected a little bit through the years, just because those things happen. And, of course, the biggest issue with the ballpark, like everything else, is finding a way to pay for everything you want to do, because, I've got a personal list that I could run down that I would like to see at the ballpark, but it's going to cost a whole lot of money, and that's not always there.
No, it's not. And going back to the grant, the $50,000 grant, it's a great deal of money, and man, we're honored to be able to be the recipient of that. But that we operate at a loss each and every year as far as offering youth sports to Caldwell County, and so it's making those improvements, trying to plan those, and within the confines of a budget is extremely difficult. But the people of Caldwell County, our local administrations have stepped up. They pitch in, they help. There's a ton of volunteers that come out and do a tremendous work. That what you see there now, of course, I wasn't here 10 years ago. I was gone. I've had the privilege of seeing other facilities and living several different places, seeing what they've done, had the opportunity to be on different boards. So we're getting there.
Yeah, it's just not always as quickly as some of us would like sometimes. But, there's a lot of things. The light poles at the ballpark, a lot of those need to be replaced. And that's an issue that comes up when you talk about the big field, the big baseball field out there that, I think the plan is for the school to own that at some point. I'm not sure exactly where that stands right now. The softball field, the school is going to own that at some point. But there's part of the property out there that I don't think the county owns right now that maybe it will get, that will make, where Youth Incorporated can, do some things to the other fields out there eventually. So in a perfect world, the school system would take over the big field, the baseball field, and the softball field, and improve those, and that would help Youth Incorporated, because then it could turn its attention to the other youth fields out there and make those better.
Absolutely. It's a process, and I'm not a patient person.
Yeah.
That when we first moved back to town, it's 4.5 years ago, I guess. I drove by there because I'm like you, I've got so many memories at the park. And the first thing that I thought was, well, this is Pole City.
Yeah.
We've got so many poles out there,
So many wires.
so many wires that are absolutely everything. And so my vision at that particular point in time was just, what can I do? I was a citizen of Princeton, and what can I do to make things better? And so, little by little, we've made improvements, but yes, the poles have got to be replaced. We remember the danger of having those wooden poles there, and I think it's a travesty for us to continue to count on that not to happen again. It's atrocious, and that it became personal to me as far as being able to get to the ballparks on a surface that was ADA, wheelchair, handicapped, accessible.
Yeah.
There's all of those things that go into a vision for improvements, and we'll get there. We are getting there. That's the great news.
Well, I think the metal poles would be one of my top priorities for the ballpark. And again, those things aren't cheap. I know Crittenden County recently did a lot at their ballpark, the big field down there. They put new lights in. It's a whole new system. But I think it cost them about $300,000. I don't think it has to be that expensive here because of the way our park is set up, but it's still going to be a substantial monetary outlay to get that done.
I've mentioned, Dwight Meeks is on the board and with you, and I've even talked about that. I've stopped and talked to a couple of guys that I know have some of these steel poles. We've missed a couple of opportunities from other parks that have closed to grab their poles and lighting systems, just not being ready with money in the past. But as the school makes their improvements, and I stopped by, I've talked to people in Frankfort, and that's close. That's close as far as what you described with the school and the county. But the poles are essential. It's essential. It's essential that elderly people can get to watch their grandkids and great-grandkids play ball, and on a solid surface. It's, there's tons of things. The poles have to come first, I think. And then, there's lots of other options and thoughts that I have. We've got our memorial tree project. There's new trees that are being planted to try and hide some of the poles there. There's 4 different groups in the community working on an indoor complex.
Yeah.
And so that I can see that coming to pass in the next couple of years. I can see it.
Well, and I would love to see a new playground out there. Maybe move it to a different location where it's more centralized in the ballpark, and maybe put up some nets where it's a safer environment. But, we see other communities around. That's one big thing. Seems like Lyon County is always opening a new playground down there someplace, and I think we're kind of lagging behind in that area here some.
Well, I'll give a plug to Mayor Beavers. He's certainly been a fan of the park and a proponent. He's given so many years of his life that we have grants that are written to try and acquire some of those things. Lyon County has done a fabulous job doing that. Now, they have grant writers. We have fallen behind with some of our grant proposals, and that you'll see when things do fall together, as the grants come in and as they're written and awarded, and as others begin to give money, and as we come together as a community, as a whole, this thing, it'll be like a snowball. I can see it in my head. I know you can. The school and the Legion and the VFW and the county, when their deal happens, and it's close, it's extremely close. It's just a matter of who's going to go first. When that happens, then all of a sudden all the dominoes begin to line up. And then when our grants, our healthy living grants, our USDA grants, when those things start coming, then you start seeing things, and it'll be at a blistering pace for the people of Caldwell County. But that as far as the grant goes from the Hospital Taxation Board, that it's essential for us to have that money to have the equipment that the kids need. You know, that we talk about all these large improvements, but we have to keep improving football equipment for the safety of the kids. We have to make sure that our surfaces are safe so nobody falls and breaks an ankle, a wrist, whatever it might be. So all of those things go together, and I think we're making progress.
Working on some of the fields out there, too.
Yes.
The Settle field looks great now. At one point, we were even discussing maybe going retro with the Settle field because so many of us basically grew up at the ballpark when we were younger, and not just when we were playing games, but I know a lot of us used to go out there and just make up games, during the day. If people can remember the old green wooden fence that was around it and the sunken dugouts, I don't know if you could ever do that again, but that was always kind of a dream of mine that maybe we could just go retro with that park at some point and kind of work on the nostalgia of everyone to maybe give a few dollars to make that a possibility.
It's coming.
Yeah.
It's coming. There's no doubt about that. If I had my druthers, if you would, that's certainly part of the plan, because there's no way to go forward without celebrating the past, and that ballpark was iconic for this entire region. I don't care where you were, you remembered going and playing on that baseball park. Now I can see that we may have to build a green monster or something because of the road confines, the confines of the layout, but that would just add to it if in my opinion anyway.
Oh yeah, I mean, we spent so much time out there and it was such a big deal to go to the ballpark, and would like to get back to that, to where going to the ballpark was the thing in the summer. And I think you see that a little more now than maybe you did 10 or 15 years ago. And we have different things out there. Last year, the fireworks show on the 4th of July, that was awesome.
We're doing it again.
People are just able to come out there and watch a good show. It was in town. You didn't have to drive any place. Those are the things we need happening at the ballpark to get people out there. It's everybody's ballpark. It should be a source of pride for the community.
That is my dream. And of course, you and I, we spent several nights a week out there. That was where people went in the summertime. And if you think about it, Todd, I mean, that's where we made friends. That's, we played with those folks at school, out on the playground, and then we divided up teams at Youth Incorporated and went after it during the ball game. And then we were buddies after that, and we went and played on the tennis court when our other buddies were playing, or we rooted them on. It's to me, the park is the one place that we all come together when it's all said and done, and I think it's essential to our community.
Well, I was going to say, how many people have come through that ballpark through the years?
Oh, there's no telling. There's no telling. I tried to get some numbers to see how many kids we were. We're somewhere around 1,000 kids that we touch each and every year, and that are a part of our different programs. Now it ebbs and flows depending on what kids are doing with year-round sports and this, that, and the other. But to imagine have that many people running around somewhere that have been a part of that park system, it just makes you want to go back and hug the past guys that served and volunteered. And if I could make a plea to the community, here we still need you. We need those past people, those guys and gals that served. We need you to come be a part of what's happening now.
Yeah, go check out the ballpark if you haven't been out there in a while. I mean, it's amazing the changes that have been made, and not just the last few years, but you go back when they did the brickwork over at the VFW ballpark. And
gorgeous.
You got the new fence out there. Check out the fields. The softball field, the Settle field, doing some work on the back fields. Those are going to be better in the future.
Yes.
Just a lot of things going on.
The the backfields, the Tilly and the Oliver field, I call them the backfields,
right.
like you do. Those the surface there, you're going to see a change. You're going to see all clay infield on one of them, and so it with the financial restraint. You guys have done a tremendous job of making improvements, and there is more to come. And I couldn't be more proud of what we've done, and to be able to just have a glimpse into the future and know what is coming, it brings me a ton of joy.
Well, I just keep coming back to that. It's a community project. It's a community ballpark, and
Absolutely.
We talk about the league the teams are in over the summer. Well, that brings people here a couple of nights a week, and they eat while they're here. They buy gas to get back home, just like our people do when they go there. The junior pro thing is the same way in football. You've
Yes.
got players and cheerleaders and parents and grandparents that are coming and going with those teams, and even in youth basketball, there's been some play between the communities. So that just helps you all the way around, the youth program in general.
I talked. Greg Harrington was a part of the Elizabethtown. They built a tremendous facility. It's like $31 million there. And if you go to Elizabethtown, I highly encourage you to go and look at their city park. It's amazing. Now, Princeton's not Elizabethtown. We understand
right.
that, different size animal, but I want you to know and get this. They put in a hotel restaurant tax of 2%, I believe it was, and they paid off $31 million in 19 months.
Wow.
19 months. But the community bought into it. It was a community project. They bought into it. And so the money that came into Elizabethtown, people sitting at the restaurants, people staying in their hotels, all of that contributed to make that park. They're debt free. They're debt free, so they can expand. They can make improvements to the existing structures. It's amazing what they've done, but it brings people to Princeton if we make improvements. The parks and recreation, with the CCDL that you referred to earlier, using the old 5th district is
right.
the way I would like to refer to it. Those people come over here and eat. They shop. They'll stop at our stores.
Yeah.
They come in early. They spend money. I've asked for a study on it, but it's estimated that what the CCDL does to each community, it's over $100,000 a year.
Wow.
Of revenue into the community. And that's baseball, football, basketball. We haven't even expanded into the other sports the way that we hope to and can. I thank you for creating that, because when you think about the revenue that it's created for the community, the relationships that it's built with the kids, they'll end up playing each other in high school, and they know each other. Yeah. It's huge.
Yeah, Jeff McDaniels was so instrumental in getting a lot of that going.
He's awesome.
Because he got with the Dawson Springs folks. They were having trouble, getting enough teams in their leagues. We were kind of having a little trouble getting enough teams in our league, so kind of started playing back and forth with Dawson, which is a pretty short trip anyway. Then the next thing you know, Crittenden County and Lyon County won in. Then Trigg County joins, and pretty soon you got you a nice little league going.
It is. I absolutely love watching it, because it doesn't make any difference whether the kids are 8 years old or 18. There's a passion for their community, and they come in and go at it and go at it and go at it, and you hear the coaches talk about strategy. How can we beat such and such, and so forth and so on. And it's great for Western Kentucky. It's great for the Lakes region. It's the future. It's the future of youth sports in the region, I believe.
Well, what kind of an outlook do you have? What would you like to see done at the ballpark as president? What kind of vision do you have going forward?
Well, I mentioned earlier ADA wheelchair accessibility. That's personal to me. I watched my dad have to sit in a car and watch games, and you guys made that possible. But we have grandparents that need to be able to get to the ballpark. And one of the huge improvements that Rogers Group was instrumental in helping us with a huge donation with the asphalt. We've paved some of those roads so that there are sidewalks and roadways or surfaces, if you would. The poles are essential. I'm hoping that with the school system that we can piggyback off of some of those poles and create some new light schemes out there to make our lighting better, definitely make it safer. I'm passionate about an indoor. My wife and I built one in Murray, and to watch how that has improved their programs, it brings me a sense of pride. We've got to have one for the kids. We've got to have one. There's no reason that kids can't be throwing a football here in the middle of November. They can be working on their skills if they have a place to go. Their guys can swing a bat. And there's the ultimate vision for me, to answer your question, and I don't know how much time we've got, but I want a playground. We will have a playground, whether I had to go borrow the money and put it out there. I don't care, but we're gonna have a playground. There's grants that have been written for it, and it's gonna be a playground that we're all proud of.
Yeah.
Now, all of that, the situating of it or the placement depends on the school and the county and those variables, but I can promise you that we're going to have a playground that the entire community can use and be proud of. That's something that's essential to me. I want to see the baseball park be green.
Yeah.
I want to see trees out there that people can sit under and enjoy so that we can bring the community back. In the middle of July, it gets hot.
Yeah.
And if there's no shade, and for the safety of the kids, we've asked people to park away from the park itself, away from the fields, which is a great idea. But we've got to create an atmosphere and an ambiance that invites people to come and stay. I stopped and I saw a guy with some roof trusses laying out beside his church, last Friday. And I stopped and talked to him, and he said, dude, if you would come and get those, we would give them to you. Well, there's a whole new pavilion.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that and trusting that the farmers market, I've shared this vision from a tourism and economic development angle. I'm hoping that the farmers market will be located over in that area so that that's the area that the community gathers. Mm-hmm. And there's no reason that it can't be. There's no reason that it can't be other than us working together.
Yeah. Hopefully all that works out because, like I said, the ballpark has come a long way. I mean, just if you go back 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and, so many people through the years have put a lot of time and effort into that place. And, there are a few issues because of the age of the ballpark, but, I think truthfully that everybody through the years, it kind of grew up organically. There was the big park, and then they decided, well, we need a smaller park, so they built a smaller park, and then they decided they needed another one and a tennis court and all those things, and there was no master plan. It just kind of grew up around the big park that way.
Well, I can't take any credit for the improvements out there, and I just want to thank you and the other guys on the board that have stuck and stayed, if you would, and continue to believe that things are going in the right direction. You mentioned Jeff McDaniels. You know, there's so many. Ray Mitchell does a great job out there. There's so many that give and give and give and give, and I think the best is yet to come. I really do.
Well, we could talk about the ballpark all day, but I got some other things we want to get to. So, you know, if you have a chance to go out to the ballpark, check it out. Especially, you know, with the weather forecast, I'm already looking forward to spring anyway. So it'll be here before you know it.
Absolutely. Do you have any other improvements? You do that.
I probably have a long list, but I'm not sure they could ever get paid for. So,
okay.
You know, I would love to see the poles fixed. I think we need metal poles.
Yes.
I think that's just something that has to happen.
Yes.
Again, I'm not sure where the money comes from, but hopefully the community and the schools and Youth Incorporated and everybody can work together to figure that out some way. But, you know, one thing I've noticed through the years is that I'm great at spending other people's money. I should almost be a politician because I can do that. Well, we need to get to a break here on the Sideline Report. David Brown is in the studio this morning, and got several things we want to talk about, but we'll be back right after this. All right, we're back on the Sideline Report on a Thursday morning here on 1580 103.3 WPKY. David Brown is in the studio with us this morning. He is the Youth Incorporated president and also a big Murray State racer booster, and we do want to get to some other things, but, you know, we spent that entire break still talking about the ballpark, so... there are a lot of things I would love to see out there, and like I said, we could do an hour-long show on that, but
absolutely,
just I'm glad we're headed in the right direction.
Great to have a call in, to have people's input sometime.
I want to mention a few other things that Emma Talley, I think, should be on the golf course right now. Her tee time this morning was 8:13 in the CME Group Tour Championship in Naples, Florida, so... How about her rookie season on the LPGA Tour, over $400,000 in earnings?
You get to thinking about what that young lady has accomplished, and it's miraculous. You can't even, I mean, you tip your hat to her because you know that she is a top-of-the-line young lady. You can't help but root for her. I don't even, if you were from... stinking Colorado, you're going to fall in love with her the minute that you meet her. She's incredible.
I do want to mention that there was supposed to be a basketball clinic for the youth this weekend.
Right.
Caldwell County Middle School coaches Andrea Forrester and Wendy McKinney were putting that on. That's been postponed until December 22nd. They wanted to let some of the youth teams get together and maybe come to that clinic as a team. So just if you were planning on that this weekend, it's been postponed until December 22nd. We need to get to another break here on the Sideline Report, but we do have lots more to come, so stay with us. The Sideline Report rolls on a Thursday morning at WPKY. Before we get any further, though, I want to tell you about Dave's Deal of the Week at U-Ride in Princeton. Be ready for winter and snow. Hey, how apropos is that? With this 2004 Chevy Avalanche. It's pewter in color, a four-wheel drive. Hey, that would come in handy. It's available now at U-Ride. Contact Dave at U-Ride at 270-365-3215. That's U-Ride, 310 Marion Road in Princeton. The Dave's Deal of the Week. And, you know, I kind of like those Chevy Avalanches. Those things are not...
Oh, they're gorgeous. They're gorgeous. I've always wanted one.
Yeah.
Right.
So if I was in the market for a vehicle right now...
Yes, there it is.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't see, there's not many of them out there. So when one becomes available, you got to jump.
Talk about you being a big booster of Murray State University sports. Have you ever seen a football game end like Saturday's did?
Never, never. Well, there was a one game back when we were kids. I remember like 5 different laterals and this hook and ladder, and never at Murray State. Never before have I seen anything like that. And to me, it was a testimony to the kids because they had taken it on the chin there over homecoming, and it just looked like they were laying a cotton picking egg.
Yeah.
And
it was 31-0 in the second quarter, and I kind of faded out. I was watching a little bit of it at home, and then I went by the office for a little bit, and like I said, it was 31-0. I kind of zoned out. Checked back in again later. It was 31-24, and I thought, well, hey, I'm going to watch the end of this and see what happens. If you missed it, Murray came back, took the lead late. It looked like they're going to have a great comeback, and then Southeast Missouri went down the field and scored, and then you're like, well, that big comeback is all for naught because they just gave it away again. With 20 seconds to go, though, SEMO kicks off. Murray State returns the kickoff for a touchdown, wins the game 40-38.
Yeah, absolutely miraculous. It was, and I hated that most people were like you and I, that most people had drifted away and missed it. But it was absolutely incredible. It's a great time for Murray State athletics. The football season has been above and beyond anything that anybody really expected. It's been a great year.
Well, a lot of sports fans in Murray had a big football weekend because Murray High School went up to Owensboro Catholic Friday night, trailed 26-0, and came back and won 41-38. If the Racers had kicked that extra point after the last touchdown Saturday, those games would have had the exact same score.
Same. It did unbelievable, and it's a testimony to the folks of Murray. You know that I love that place, love the university. I talked to Ricky Spann and some of the guys that have kids on the team this week, and asked them, what in the world? And it was like there was something going on, and they couldn't explain it. It just happened, and thanks to the kids.
The last time I can remember a Murray State football game ending with that much excitement, there was a kid at quarterback at Murray State by the name of Stuart Childress. If you remember that guy.
You can't forget him.
And he engineered the game-winning drive. Murray kicked a long field goal. Shane Andrus, I believe, like a 51-yarder.
You're right.
The last time Murray State made the playoffs. And that was the final game of the regular season against Eastern Illinois. Yes. And Eastern Illinois had a quarterback that you might have heard of.
Yes, you have.
Tony Romo.
Yes, you have.
Of the Dallas Cowboys, and now an analyst for, is it NBC?
I don't know which
CBS?
network
I can't remember
but
now.
He's on
Fox.
there, yeah.
He's one of them. But, I mean, Stewart and the Racers beat Tony Romo and the Eastern Illinois Panthers that day.
It's and the basketball team looks as strong as ever. They've started out like a house on fire, and they've dominated the teams that they were supposed to, and beaten a really good Wright State team. The baseball is, took a punch to the mouth, but I am extremely excited about what's going to take place with the baseball season coming up too.
What kind of fall did they have?
This year the NCAA allowed you to play 4 games in the fall. I think 4-2. Let's see. Well, anyway, they got a chance to work out against some junior college teams. Frontier, that has Ty Ramey, is a part of the Frontier And then they played Wren Lake that has Jace Ryan Felker and Bryce Thomas and Noah Brown. They looked really good. One of the things that I've noticed, or several of the things, the pitching is mature. That's always sort of been a gig in the back, if you would, to have enough pitching to make it through the season. But it's matured. I've noticed that we're not going to be one of these OVC long ball teams this year. That's pretty obvious. We've lost some offense. But the team speed and defense is better than I've ever seen it.
Wow.
And so that makes your pitching better.
Yeah.
That makes the loss of offense a little less of an impact, if you would.
Well, everyone's always chasing pitching, though. And, of course, a couple of pitchers at Murray State, Shane Burns, Luke Brown. You've got a son at Murray State, another one at Wren Lake. And I'm going to be honest, I don't know a whole lot about the Wren Lake baseball program, but we've got 3 kids up there. Briar Riley has committed to go there next year. So that's been a pretty good place for Caldwell County baseball players to go to the next level at.
I think we've got a couple more. That was one of my reasons for going to Wren Lake yesterday. I think we've got a couple more Caldwell County kids that are going to get to play at a collegiate level. And if you think about that, I mean, what a testimony to Coach Stallings and his staff as far as the baseball goes. What a testimony to the parents to pay the price and make the investment. The future is definitely bright, and we'll get to see some kids play at the next level. I'm certain of it that we'll have kids from Caldwell County that'll be wearing big league uniforms before you know it.
Well, and we've just got a lot of kids that are playing a lot of different sports now from Caldwell County. You know, we've got football players and baseball players, softball players.
What an honor to be named the coach of the district and player of the district for Oliver Parker. You know, and the kid's going to go ahead and start playing on Saturdays up in Bowling Green. So,
David Barnes was the district football coach of the year for the 7th straight year.
Really?
Yes.
7 years.
As a matter of fact, Caldwell County has won the Player of the Year award in the district 6 of the last 7 years. And the only time they didn't win it was last year when the kid that was the quarterback at Paducah Tillman, the Harmon kid, got Player of the Year in the district. So, and a lot of times, I think Coach Barnes has been state Class 3A Coach of the Year 3 times in the past, and we've had at least 4, maybe 5 times where a Caldwell player has gotten the Class 3A State Player of the Year from the Kentucky Football Coaches Association.
Well, you know, I'll go back. I think a lot of it starts at Youth Incorporated. I really do. Hats off to Coach Barnes for his award. Oliver Parker is obviously a Division I athlete. There's no doubt about that. The award, I mean, there's a handful of guys that could have gotten that award on the football team that were a huge impact on the field. And the part that I like about, you know, Oliver and these other kids is that it's not just on the field, it's in the classroom, and it's off the field, too. It's a great time.
Well, in football, Caldwell County has had an extremely strong run over the past 7 or 8 years. And you mentioned the youth program and junior pro, and I know sometimes our junior pro program feels a little handicapped because we have 2 teams in the youth league because we have so many kids. The other communities only have 1. And so sometimes I think when you look at the junior pro jamboree at the end of the year and you see, well, Crittenden County won, or, you know, Trigg County or Union County, and it's like, well, what happened to our kids? It's like, well, we've split everybody. You know, we're essentially playing half a team against everybody. And so when you look at the junior pro level and other teams win, and it's like, well, maybe we should be winning, but we're not. However, forward to the future, there's a reason why Caldwell County has beaten Crittenden County 7 or 8 years in a row, has beaten Trigg County 7 or 8 years in a row, has beaten Union County 7 or 8 years in a row. Well, it's because all those kids got to play in junior pro, and yeah, maybe they took a lump or 2 along the way, but they learned how to play and compete, and by the time they get to high school and you put those kids back together, now you've got something.
There's no doubt about it. I've heard you all talk about it. I'm not as involved in the football, junior pro football, but the program has it is the reason that we see success on Friday nights out on Begner Lane. There's no doubt about it to me.
Well, you have to feed those kids, and then those coaches get them. And,
yes.
you know, I don't know how many times I've had a kid come up to me and say, you know, that team we were playing across the board, they were better athletically than we were, but we knew our system, and we ran our system better than they ran theirs.
And they've been learning it for years and years. It's a great time. It's a great time for sports, and with it cold outside, you know, sports is something that really draws us all together. And I'm passionate about Murray State and Wren Lake, and I know others are passionate about Western, and I love ribbing them. We're going to get to play Western this year in baseball. Of course, basketball. I'm looking forward. I'm wanting the football to be. I said something to Velvet over homecoming. I said, "Hey, let's get some of the doggone rivalries back together. Now you've got the chance. Let's do this."
What happened to the UK game on the baseball schedule for Murray State?
Well,
I didn't see it on there this year.
Nothing is completely finalized.
Okay.
That we're certain of the fact that we're going to get to play them once.
Okay.
We're certain of that. At least that's what I've been told. You know, last year we got a chance to do a home and away, and we're not going to get to do that.
Okay. I need to get to one more break here on the Sideline Report. Still more to come right after this. We are back on the Sideline Report. Todd Griffin with David Brown, getting ready to finish up another Sideline Report here. And, David, I did want to mention a couple of things before we get out of here. First of all, Tony Franklin makes his return to UK this week for Middle Tennessee. The Blue Raiders will be playing at Commonwealth Stadium, Kroger Field.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I can't remember to.
What a career he's had.
Yeah. And, you know, I'm a little surprised that hasn't made more headway, you know.
He deserves that. He has impacted all of college football. And we've even seen some of it in the pros with the Eagles a few years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Had phenomenal career.
And I did want to mention before we get out of here, the world lost a really instrumental, you know, if you're a fanboy, Stan Lee was just the greatest. One of the first comic books I ever remember having was a Spider-Man comic book. And then you look at all those Marvel movies through the years and just how much enjoyment that guy brought to the world, and 95 years old and creative until the very end. And one of the things I always looked for in those movies was his cameos, and that was always pretty neat. So Stanley, 95.
What another life of legacy, man.
Absolutely.
I mean, what a legacy.
Well, David, anything else you want to add? Like I said, it's a good time to be a Murray State Racer fan, and
we'll get it in the newspaper, the schedules and all of that for baseball season. You know, having Shane Burns there and having Luke. We'll be glad to drive a bus. People can come down and stay in the camper. They can stay with my mom. We just want to see you at the baseball park. Come to Youth Incorporated. Send us your ideas. Come to Murray and support the kids.
Just a lot going on. Basketball previews coming up next week in the Princeton Times Leader. I do want to mention that. We got Lyon County coming up on Wednesday. Caldwell County preview will be next Saturday. It's getting close. Basketball season starts.
They got a good team, man.
November 27th at Lyon County, a Caldwell County girls and boys doubleheader.
I was looking forward to going to a game last week with Grace at the cheering. I'm thinking, hey, it's time to start. It's November the 15th or something. And I thought, she said, no, we kicked it back now. And I don't remember when they changed it, but we've got a heck of a good team.
I think both Caldwell County teams are going to be really good this year.
I do, too.
The only issue you face in the second region is there are a lot of really good teams out there. So, you know, you can be really good and still struggle to reach those top teams because just in boys basketball, you've got University Heights with the Tandy kid. Yeah, I mean, he's good. Madisonville is going to be really good this year, and they're in the district. I think Caldwell's girls are going to surprise some people again this year, just like they did last year. So, yeah, I'm anticipating basketball season. I just it wouldn't hurt my feelings if the weather warmed up just a little bit.
It's got to. It's got to. You know, it can't stay this way. Well, with it being cold, there's no place better to be than out at the cab watching the kids play basketball. Come to the Youth Incorporated, you know, the Little League basketball stuff that goes on at all the different gyms. Come be a part of what is going on in the community with these kids.
Well, that's going to wrap up another Sideline Report. David Brown, thanks for coming in. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank everybody for listening. Again, basketball previews coming up shortly in the Times Leader, so be sure and look out for those. This is Todd Griffin of the Princeton Times Leader. Thanks for listening to the Sideline Report.